We're on our way to this summer's 1940s ball, and no, this is not our car, unfortunately. It's a beautiful 1941 Cadillac that belongs to our neighbor who just happened to drive by. But it's a perfect fit for the 1940s ball and just the right look to get us in the mood. Hello and welcome to Fashion Bites. I'm Ellen Byerrum, author of The Crime of Fashion Mysteries, the Screwball Noir Mystery, starring Lacey Smithsonian, a fashion reporter in Washington, D.C., the city that fashion forgot. Today we are on site at the 1940s ball in Boulder, Colorado with the hangers, and this year is Victory Street behind me. Every year it's a little different, but this is the 10th anniversary of the 1940s ball. Before the evening is over, thousands of people will crowd in here, learn how to swing dance. They will be bopping to the big bands and, in general, having a wonderful time. And I will check in later. Bye. So here at the World War II 1940s ball, you can take a flight of imagination as well as looking at some of these vintage planes, and there are lots of vintage army vehicles as well as beautiful vintage cars. So take flight with your imagination, if not on one of these wonderful propeller planes. World War II military reenactors are out in force at this ball with their authentic tanks, trucks, jeeps, and troop carriers, and they're also ready for their close-up with a few admirers. When you look at these amazing vehicles, you see how well preserved they are and understand that they still drive and they are kept in shape. And this beautiful 1950 Packard is a dead ringer for the Packard I described in my ghost story, The Last Goodbye of Harris Turner. Except Harris Turner's Packard is a convertible. I'd love to drive this one home. You can see a lot more classic cars at the ball, including the actual 1919 Dodge, driven by Jimmy Stewart in the 40s classic movie, It's a Wonderful Life. It's a beauty, polished and ready to run. Okay, I'm here with
Heather Rogers, Krista Brennis.
Okay, and look at their outfits, aren't they wonderful? And you are wearing...
We're League of Their Own. I'm Kit Henson. I'm Dottie. Oh no, I'm Kit Keller and she's Dottie Henson.
Okay, so these are recreations of uniform... Hush! Okay. These are recreations of the uniforms that were worn during the movie, and as we know from the film, during World War II, women had baseball teams because there weren't enough men for the male baseball teams.
Absolutely, right? Yes, correct.
All right.
Yes. Thank you. Enjoy the night.
Yeah. You having a good time?
Yes. We are. Yeah, you?
Oh yeah, always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, here we are at the 1940s ball in Boulder, Colorado, and I am talking with Nina. I met Nina several years ago, and I always buy her cupcakes because they are delicious. Take a look at this year's selection. We're going with the Paris theme, so everything is c'est parfait. C'est maintenant? Okay. This is just part of the sights and sounds of this year's 1940s ball. And I'm definitely buying cupcakes, but I have to wait a while because I have to suck in my stomach for this dress. And of course, after a cupcake or two, it's time to go shopping. There are always vendors with offerings in vintage and semi-vintage clothing, as well as some retro offerings. There's World War II memorabilia, vintage posters and records, and more. As I've mentioned before, vintage clothing, particularly clothing from the 1940s, is a vanishing resource. Therefore, you're not seeing as much of it at the ball anymore, but a lot of retro clothes. It wouldn't be an homage to the 40s without big band music, and here we see the Satin Dolls singing with the backup by the world-famous Glenn Miller Orchestra.
A boss took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The boss tried to throw the monkey off of his back, but the monkey grabbed his neck and said, "Now listen, Jack, straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. won't you blow your top? Fly right.
And you've got to go out with your best gal, even if she's your mom. This couple is snazzy in stripes and sure-footed on the dance floor, keeping up with the other couples around them.
Stuff like that there. I want some leaping and some chasing and some weaving and some pasting and some stuff like that there. And when I get it, looking, feeling, looking, tasting, there's really only one express to do it, baby. I want some honey, sweet teasing, bugging, teasing and some stuff.
Don't you wish you were there, cutting up a rug?
Stuff like that there. Well, we will be right back.
The 1940s Ball is a great place to catch up with friends. Here I am with Diana Selesky, a writer, and pin-up den mother Whiskey LaRue. As the sun goes down, I took just a moment to touch up a bit of makeup for the rest of the evening and keep my eye on the officers and other gents. And please, you keep an eye on Fashion Bites, where we will resume next Friday with part 2 of the 2018 1940s Ball. If you want to know more about me, just check out my website at ellenbyerrum.com. Bye!